Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. It's good to be back with you. I hope you are doing well. You can listen to and watch me on Rumble and YouTube, and you can follow me on X. Please like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the AI algorithm. And lastly, please post your comments and questions below. It would be wonderful to hear from you. It's great to be back with you for this new episode, and let's jump right into it. This is from CNBC TV 18. This is out of India. This was the only article I could find on this topic, which is interesting. I've seen there were zero articles from here in the States on what Grok is about to do. Title of the article is Soon Grok Will Summarize U.S. Laws Before They Are Passed, says Elon Musk. And this is by, hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Pihu Yadav. And there's Pihu's link right there to this person's X account. This is from March 1st. So, yeah, I'm a bit surprised. When maybe I shouldn't be surprised that this was the only one I could find on this topic. And I just happened to hear about it because I know Scott Adams was talking about it, and there was a post on X more recently where I saw it. And obviously I'm here doing a video about it. So this is going to be a short one. So the article begins, Tech Titan, I can't speak. Tech Titan Elon Musk took to X, formerly Twitter, on Friday to unveil Grok's latest feat, decoding mammoth laws before their passage through Congress. So, if you're not familiar, here in the United States, our legislation in Congress tends to be very long, tends to be a lot of pages. And I don't mean just like 50 pages. I mean, you can do that, but thousands of pages long. And that's not only difficult for a person who, representative or senator, to get through with everything else that they have going on in a 24-hour day, but it's also difficult for citizens. Citizens have no incentive to read these documents or the legislation. It is accessible. Well, as I understand it, all legislation is accessible, but then it's also, where do you find it? Because they're not going to talk about that in their speeches. I mean, Thomas Massey does. He'll say that, but he's the only one I know of that actually does. So our article begins here. Grok, the chatbot developed by Musk startup XAI. And I've done previous videos. I've done a previous video on XAI. I will post that in the below. Will reportedly simplify complex legislation by summarizing it for the public eye in the coming weeks. As Elon says here, and this is from a post from him on February 29th. This is from Elon. In the coming weeks, Grok will summarize these mammoth laws before they are passed by Congress, so you know what their real purpose is. Yeah, I agree. Not only are they long, but because they're long, they disincentivize the citizen from reading them, and other legislators, by the way. And the only logical conclusion I could come to is they do that because they're hiding things that they don't want you to see. And it's difficult. You actually have to take the time to read through these. If you're a regular citizen who has a 8, 9, 10-hour job a day, and then you have kids or you have other things going on or you're in school or whatever, you have a lot of other responsibilities. You don't have time to go through this stuff. And so it's kind of sketchy. I shouldn't say kind of, it is sketchy. It's sketchy that they do that. And this isn't a recent thing. They've been doing this for a long time. Um, in it, this is really kind of an integrity thing, right? You do the right thing when nobody's watching. That's integrity. And here, that person legitimately has the right to ask the question: do these people have integrity that are passing these laws? And this isn't a knock on just Democrats; it's a knock on Republicans and Democrats or anybody serving. If you're an independent, right? The idea is you're there to serve. At least that's how I understand it. You're there to serve the people, and that legislation should match, right? Simplify the process. Yeah. Can you say it in one document, right? Try to make the legislation as short as possible. It doesn't have to be long. Let's make it as short as possible. One topic at a time. Yeah, if it's snail's pace, it's snail's pace. But at least your constituents, the people who vote for you, that support you, at least they'd be able to understand it. Right? I think this is something that everyone should be concerned about. Let's see here. Article continues. Originally introduced in November 2023, Grok boasts unique capabilities that set it apart from its peers. Musk emphasized Grok's. Oh, there we go. Put that in. Little ad there in between. Grok's real-time access to information via X and its an internet browsing prowess, enabling it to fetch up to date data from the web on specific topics. It was launched as a direct competitor to OpenAI's ChatGPT. Yeah, and then the question I have is, I'll have my three questions and thoughts at the end here. My question is, so the legislation hasn't been published yet, and so how are they getting their hands on the legislation? Is legislation, as they're going through the process of legislation, does that have to be transparent? And if it is transparent, where are they getting it from? So I guess I don't know the answer. I guess I'm asking those questions. I don't know the answer to those questions. But if you're gonna if Grok is going to summarize legislation, uh, where's Grok gaining access to that? Maybe somebody's posting that. I imagine maybe they have somebody who's posting that, or posting that on X and Grok or in Grok, or they've created a system where they can extract like web scraping and extract that into Grok, and then Grok will process that. That's probably what's happening because there's so many of them that have to automate the process. The question I have is, will Grok be summarizing not just federal legislation, because that's what this article is about, but what about state and county and city legislation? Right, it's easy because federal legislation is the Senate and Congress, uh, or maybe legislation that the president's office is pushing, the president's administration. But once you get, United States, obviously 50 states, and then within those 50 states, you have numerous cities, numerous counties and cities, numerous counties, and then of course all the cities that are in those counties, and not just large cities, but small towns. Will this model be able to scale uh, all the way down uh, and through public policy and economic policy as well, right? These people tend to think about public policy, and of course, there's economic policy. Economic policy being a minimum wage, um, subsidies, things like that, or applications like that. So let's continue here with the article. Grok distinguishes itself from other models due to its real-time access to information through X and its internet browsing capabilities. Yeah, there we go. It's scraping, enabling it to fetch up-to-date information from web about specific topics. Yeah, so that's what I suspected. That would be the easy way to do it. The hard way to do it would have somebody just one at a time, uh, take that legislation, go to the website, download that legislation, and then input it into Grok. That would be the slow way to do it. I'm gonna grab some coffee. But of course, that would be redundant. And if you have to do something over and over and over again like that menial task, well, then that would be a reason to automate that process. And then you would just have somebody monitor, update, maintain that process. So that obviously that sounds like what's going on. Right. Article continues here. Like ChatGPT, Grok also possesses internet browsing capabilities, allowing it to provide users with comprehensive and timely information. So, right, since it's real time, when as soon as this will happen as soon as legislators, excuse me, or politicians, policymakers, whatever you want to call them, as soon as they publish these um, drafts, because that's what they're going to be before they become before they pass and get signed into law. They're going to be drafts, and so wherever they post the drafts or publish the drafts, that's where Grok, or that's where this system will be able to web scrape, take from, and then obviously move that through Grok's processing system. That's interesting. And let's see. It says here the chatbot is currently only available to the X Premium Plus subscribers. You have thought about doing that? I might actually end up doing that. We'll see. The top tier of the social media platforms subscription plan. Yeah, there's three tiers. The top tier is X Premium Plus. Let's see here. In India, the Premium Plus tier is available at $1,300 per month, and that's in Indian currency. I apologize. I do not know the name of Indian currency. I'll look it up after this on the web, or $2,150 per month on Android and iOS apps. So yeah, this is the article. It's the only article I could find on this, actually, like I said before. So good article here by let's see here, Pihu. Yeah, thank you, Pihu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. So my final three questions and thoughts on this matter. If you're new to this show, this station, I do my final three thoughts, although I'm expanding that to questions as well. So my final three questions and thoughts. Other listeners know I've kind of been, what, not kind of been, I've been exploring these ideas at the end, bringing everything together, asking some questions that weren't covered in the original read. So my first question is this: how will Grok summarize legislation? Grok should summarize based on the beliefs and biases of the developers. This is something I've talked about in the past. Is AI regarding the LLM models? They will be influenced by the developers themselves. So if you have, let's say, OpenAI, which is probably safe to say more left leaning, ChatGPT should represent those beliefs in its interaction with the reader, with the user. I can tell you, using deep AI, which I use. Obviously, I've been incorporating a lot of deep AI in the photos for this show. I've been including a lot more AI art. When I was creating a thumbnail for a previous show, I put the word "damn" in the prompt, and it wouldn't let me create the thumbnail. It said it was offensive. Okay. So I had to change that prompt. Now, that is an example of the person or the people or the developers who are creating the AI. It's an example of them constraining what you can and cannot do, right? Based off of their own personal beliefs and biases. And there are other examples as well, which I'm sure if you've played with AI in the interface, you've run into. Uh, and it's not to say that Grok is the developers at Grok are bad people. It's just that Grok is going to represent that. That's all I'm saying. Second question in thought: should legislation be simplified? As Elon stated, Grok is summarizing or summing up, condensing mammoth legislation that becomes law. Right. So, as I said earlier in this episode, legislation here in the United States, the amount of reading that is required is extensive. So, my thought is, and this is not my original thought. This actually a thought comes from Scott Adams, which is should that be reduced to one page? Right? Can you say what you want to do in one page? And go even a step further. Um, ensure that the language matches the average reading level of the citizen, so the average citizen can understand what's going on. Right? A barrier to entry is putting it into legalese, so only lawyers understand it. As an engineer, I don't want to read what lawyers. I don't want to read lawyer writing. It takes a lot more time to figure out what they're trying to say. A simplified document would be great. And it would include a lot more people in the process. It would incentivize people, at least create an opportunity to incentivize people to look at it. Question 3 and thought 3: will OpenAI start summarizing legislation? So, right, this is the obvious question. Since Grok's going to do it, is ChatGPT going to start doing it? And then will other competitors start doing it as well? And then you're going to have what's probably going to happen is you're going to have different summaries of what the legislation actually says. And it's going to confuse everyone. I already see how that's going to go, right? We have different news sources: Fox, CNN, MSNBC. Well, CNN and MSNBC are closer together, right? You have The Hill, you have Axios. Some are closer than others. ON News, right? Is it OAN? I don't watch OAN. I'm sorry if you're listening. I don't watch OAN. They have a very pretty journalist, though. I'll give them that. She's very attractive. Anyway, enough about that. So, but okay, so some news sources are going to be close to others. They're going to be passing the same news. They're going to sound a lot alike, right? For both conservatives and liberals, and here, at least here in the United States, and I imagine it's similar over in other countries. They're going to be reflective of their personal beliefs. People are just naturally going to interject it. What do we do about it? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't have a solution for it. I'm merely just pointing it out. Like other people have pointed it out before. So I'm obviously not the first person to do that. But they're going to start competing against each other. And then that might even open it. Oh, ChatGPT summarizes it. Grok summarizes it. Those summaries are probably going to be different. So then which summary do you believe? I don't know. I'm just thinking this through, right? Just thinking this through how this is going to go based off of previous data, previous observations. I'm just imagining this is the way it's going to go. I'd be very surprised if it goes the way where ChatGPT and Grok says the same thing. I'd be really surprised. I would not put my money on that. Just an FYI. So, anyways, just some questions and thoughts to consider regarding summarizing legislation. I think the underlying. I think the idea is a good idea, but just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's necessarily going to work out in the real world the way we expect it to. Now, will it work? Will it be a better system than what we currently have? Yeah, I believe so. I think the optimal system is legislators creating a one-page summary or a one-page document of the legislation. I think that's it. It doesn't need to be longer than one page. If it's longer than one page, you're hiding something. Make it one page, put it at average reading level for the nation or for the country, and let the voters decide. And well, in addition to that, also put a location where it's easily accessible for everyone to read, and then let the voters decide. Right? Provide feedback, information. Uh, that wouldn't be difficult to do. That'd be really easy to implement. Be very easy to implement. And it would show transparency and integrity. It really would. But I would vote for that person. I don't care if that person is a uh, is a Democrat or Republican. I'd vote for that person. That'd be a good system because the system really is more important than the political affiliation. It's about what will work. Can we test and validate that it's going to work? Right? Don't be so. I myself. I'm not going to tell you for myself. Being about the focusing on the system and testing and validating, that's more important to me because in the end my personal preference is to uh, create a situation where people will flourish. Now I believe that's in markets. That's my position. So I tend to be uh, more in the same ballpark as, let's say, somebody like Milton Friedman or Thomas Sowell, because I believe that's where the evidence is at. I'm open to counter evidence, but I believe that's where the evidence is at because I've seen the counter evidence and I used to believe the counter evidence. But the results, that's what's important ultimately. But anyway, that's what I got. That's all I got on this topic. Uh like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the algorithm. Put your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Uh, it's been great being with you again, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.